Hello all, welcome to Pustik Vani, your one-stop solution for book summary. Today we are here with the book name, The Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Kurt Vonnegut. Stephen King. So let's start its plot overview. Returning home to the Laguna Pueblo reservation from World War II, via a veterans hospital, Teo must find a way to cure himself of his mental anguish, and to bring the rain back to his community. Combining prose and poetry, Ceremony interweaves the individual story of Teo and the collective story of his people. As Teo's journey unfolds, it is paralleled by poems telling old stories. The trauma of thinking he saw his uncle Josiah's face among a crowd of Japanese soldiers he was ordered to shoot, and then of watching his cousin Rocky die, drove Teo out of his mind. A period of time in a veterans hospital gets him well enough to return to his home, with his grandmother, his auntie, and her husband Robert. This is the family unit that raised him after his mother, who had conceived him with an unknown white man, left him for good at the age of 4. In his family's home, Teo faces not only their disappointment at the loss of Rocky, but also his continued grieving over his favorite uncle Josiah's death. He also contends with his guilt over a prayer against the rain he uttered in the forests of the Philippines, which he thinks is responsible for the 6-year drought on the reservation. As he slowly recuperates, Teo realizes that he is not alone. His childhood friends Harley, Leroy, Emo, and Pinky, who also fought in the war, contend with similar post-traumatic stress, self-medicating with alcohol. The company is little comfort. His old friends spend their drunken hours reminiscing about how great the war was and how much respect they got while they were in uniform. These stories only make Teo think about the tremendous discrimination the Native Americans face at the hands of the whites, whom they nonetheless seem to admire, and he is even more saddened and infuriated. Just as Teo begins to give up hope and to wish he could return to the VA hospital, his grandmother calls in the medicine man, Kuush. Kuush performs for Teo a ceremony for warriors who have killed in battle, but both Kuush and Teo fear that the ancient ceremonies are not applicable to this new situation. Teo is helped but not cured by Kuush's ceremony. It prompts him to consider his childhood, especially the summer before he left for the army. Although Auntie did her best to keep the two boys separate, Teo and Rocky became close friends, and the summer after they graduated from high school, they enlisted in the army together. That summer, Josiah fell in love with Night Swan, a Mexican woman who lived just outside the reservation. At her urging, he invested in a herd of Mexican cattle, which Teo helped him to care for. As so often happens, there is a drought that summer. Having heard the old stories of how droughts are ended, Teo goes to a spring and invents a rain ceremony. The following day it rains. In addition to helping the crops and the cattle, the rain keeps Josiah from visiting Night Swan. He asks Teo to bring her a note. Teo delivers the note, and in the process is seduced by Night Swan. Realizing that his ceremony has not been enough for Teo, Kuush sends him to the nearby town of Gallup to see another medicine man, Bettany, who knows more about the problems incurred by the contact between Native American and white cultures. Although he is skeptical of Bettany's strange ways and especially high connection with the white world, Teo tells him of what is troubling him. Bettany listens and explains that they must invent and complete a new ceremony. Teo accepts. Bettany tells Teo stories of the old ceremonies as he performs them. Then Bettany tells Teo stories of his grandfather, Deskini, and the beginning of the creation of a new ceremony to stop the destruction the whites, an invention of Native American witchery, are wreaking on the world. Bettany sends Teo back home, reminding him that the ceremony is still far from complete. When he meets Harley and Leroy on the way home, Teo slips back into their lifestyle for a moment, but soon moves on, heeding the signs Bettany told him of as he searches for Josiah's cattle. Teo follows the stars to a woman's house. After spending a night with the woman, Tiza, Teo heads up into the mountains. He finds Josiah's cattle fenced into a white man's pasture. While Teo breaks into the pasture, the cattle run off to its far reaches, and Teo spends all night looking for them. As dawn approaches, Teo is about to give up when a mountain lion comes up to him. Teo honors the mountain lion, and follows its tracks to the cattle. Just as he herds the cattle out of the pasture, 2 white patrolmen find Teo. Not realizing that the cattle are missing, but knowing Teo has trespassed, the patrolmen arrest Teo. Before they can bring him to town, however, they notice the mountain lion tracks and let Teo go in order to hunt it. As Teo heads out, it begins to snow. Taeyo knows this will cover the tracks of his cattle and of the mountain lion, making the patrolman's efforts fruitless. On the way down the mountain, Taeyo meets a hunter, who lives with Tiza. When they arrive back at her house, she has corralled Taeyo's cattle, which she keeps until Taeyo and Robert return with a cattle truck to gather them up. Returning home with Josiah's cattle, Taeyo feels cured. However, the drought persists, and Taeyo knows the ceremony is not complete. He goes to the family's ranch with the cattle, where he finds Tiza. They spend the summer together, but as it draws to an end, Robert visits and warns Taeyo that Imo has been spreading rumors about him. Shortly thereafter, Tiza tells Taeyo that Imo and the white police are coming after him. Before she leaves, she tells Taeyo how to avoid capture. Following Tiza's instructions, Taeyo easily evades the white police. Still running from Imo, he meets Harley and Leroy. Almost too late, Taeyo realizes that Harley and Leroy have joined forces with Imo. Running again, Taeyo finds himself in an abandoned uranium mine. As he looks at the gaping hole left in the earth, Taeyo realizes that this is the last station of his ceremony, the one where he incorporates an element of white culture, the mine. All he has to do is to spend the night there and the ceremony will be complete. Soon Imo and Pinky arrive. From a hiding place, Taeyo must watch them torture Harley to death, and restrain himself from killing Imo in order to save Harley. With the help of the wind, Taeyo survives the night. He returns home and goes back to Kuush. After hearing all about Taeyo's ceremony, Kuush pronounces that Tiza was in fact Amuo, who has given her blessings to Taeyo and his ceremony. The drought is ended and the destruction of the whites is stopped. Taeyo spends one last night in Kuush's house to finish off the ceremony, and then he returns home.